everyone, and welcome to the 61st edition of Fan Fuel Podcast, the podcast where fans. My name's Alex. I am joined by Colton and Jared. And there's
Alex has two monitors now, so he's like big balling over there, and I think he just keeps seeing his reflection.
Well,
like,
yeah,
oh,
not
man,
only
who's
that,
that
but
hand-
it's
who's that
echoed
handsome
because
fella?
this Twitch stream started, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing myself talk, and in my ear, I'm like, what the hell is going on? But so you're witnessing me have technical difficulties, just my brain. Welcome to Fan Fuel again. So not startled at the moment anymore. Tonight we'll be joined by a very special guest. You guys will be very happy once he gets on. So tonight's going to be all about the All-Star race. We're going to lead into the Indy 500 a little bit, but our guests should be here and should be very happy to get into our woke or joke stuff because we're focusing pretty much on his favorite driver. And look who it is, our big guest for tonight has just jumped on. That is Nathan Ball. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Wow.
Oh, man,
so
I got in the door about 2 minutes ago.
Our special guest tonight over here just walked in, got to get some food, and we're going to be talking to him about his favorite driver tonight. We're going to be all about the woke or joke stuff from Denny Hamlin. But first, let's get our I guess, what's a polite way to say this about the All-Star race? Let's get our opinions. I'll just go with the generic term. Maybe opinions. We'll start with you, Nathan. Just overall opinion about the All-Star race without bringing up any of the points that we're obviously going to get to later. What were your initial thoughts?
It was pretty mediocre. That's about my one word that I could describe it with.
All right. I think that's a little too much credit, in my opinion. What about you, Colton?
It was a race. I mean, it was on.
Man. Oh my God, this is the best Fan Fuel episode start I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
We're just okay. Let's restart one more again. I don't think we are excited to be talking about the All-Star race. It was
The what?
It was a race.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So let's just
All-Star race? That was this weekend?
Yeah. All right. So what good things have been going on in your guys' lives? I do want to ask about that.
It's not the All-Star week. It's not the All-Star race weekend coming up.
Yeah, we got the Motorsports Christmas on Sunday.
Yeah. Nate looks like he's got some dank food. That seems to be pretty good, at least better than the All-Star race. I got a big barbecue this weekend. I got to come. A friend coming up from Las Vegas. He's going to come stay the weekend. We're going to go have a big-ass barbecue with like 30 or 40 people this weekend. I got 8 racks of ribs I'm cooking, plus like 5 pounds of mac and cheese, a whole bunch of other food. And then Sunday we're going to head down to Colorado National Speedway if it isn't thunderstorming and see my buddy Brandon Hall. Oh, my fingers are all – this is really hard in a mirrored camera. See my buddy race down there. He just got a legend. Second race of his career. He didn't get last time. So hopefully he doesn't get last again.
Yeah.
I survived my 3-week training course, which is why I've been MIA the last 3 weeks. So I am now fully trained to do the job that I recently got. So that's what's been going on with my life. I spent way too much money down there. Thanks. Yeah. I spent way too much money. I went out to eat every single day. So that was I basically spent probably about a third of my paycheck down there. So that was nice.
Nice. That is a typical millennial thing to do. Spend all your food on all your money on takeout. I do have to say you fit the part now that you've shaved as well. You fit the part.
Yes. Yep. Now I can officially say that I'm starting my new job because I'm trained. So I figured, I might as well start a culture here. We're going to go with the handlebar summer. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call it, but I don't know what we could call it this summer.
Unlucky me and unlucky Colton, we don't have connecting beards, so we can't do that with you.
I got a little gap in this little,
right here.
Joe Dirt.
Look at that.
It just grows in all white trash.
And
Yeah.
what about you, Nate?
Nathan- Nathan's got nothing yet. He hadn't quite got there yet.
Or Nate just shaves every morning like a fucking Marine.
You're muted, bud.
I said maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I'd like to. I can't imagine Nate with facial hair now. I just can't.
I don't know that I could either.
Like, just imagine him with, like, I don't even know.
When
You
I
could come up here with one of those big burly beards one day, and we're gonna like, how did you grow that? And you're like, secret.
be like, I didn't shave since Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to shave the beard off sometime again this year, and when I do, I look like Joe Diffie.
I don't know. I can't even imagine you without a beard.
It was on
That's
last October I shaved.
that's
I look
still
like a child.
Yeah.
Some would even say another word behind that, but we won't go down that road.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that. I could do that too if I shaved right here. I could be a
Yeah.
child. You know.
A child something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people that I see at work every day.
Anyways, let's get on to the show. I think we've spent a little bit of our 6 minutes now live on just kind of bullshitting around. It was just one of those weekends, man. It was not really something to talk about unless you weren't watching the NASCAR stuff. So let's go ahead before we get into Woker Joke. Let's talk about the Open because we don't really have anything to talk about before Woker Joke with the Open. So what did you guys think of the Open, and are you, I guess, satisfied with the racing that happened before we got the All-Star?
I don't mind the Open. I feel like they race a lot harder in the Open than they end up doing in the All-Star race just about every year. I would like to see if I can make one improvement to it. I can make a ton, but I would like to see one. I only want one guy to transfer in. Maybe throw a fan vote in there, but I want one guy to transfer in, and I want the race to be like at least half as long. Because when you get 4 guys that are racing in, it takes away the credibility of the All-Stars that are in there, right?
All right.
But also, I feel like they would just race harder. If I'm, who won the last transfer spot into the Open? I know it was Stenhouse, and then
Busher.
Busher won. Suarez. Yeah. So, like if I'm Daniel Suarez and right in that first stage, I'm running 5th. I'm not going to race hard. Why would I?
Right.
Because the guy up there is going to be gone. I'm going to have a restart to maybe pick up a spot, and then I'm going to be in perfect spot for those last couple stages. So why would I race hard? And I just think that takes away a lot of credibility of it. I think you really need to be balls to the wall to be able to say that you raced yourself into the All-Star race.
Right.
And could you imagine a race between Stenhouse, Busher, Suarez, Reddick? Had he not crashed out for the last couple laps, that would have been pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like impressed with what I saw. I mean, I kind of had it on in the background because I was watching Indy 500 qualifying on my TV. I had the Open on like my iPad or something. So from what little I did see, it was kind of just whoever one guy wins the next stage, the next guy pretty much just controls the rest of it from there. I mean, it's Texas, so there's not much that can be done.
I'll be honest. I honestly completely missed the. I missed the Open. I was not excited whatsoever for the All-Star race, so it just was not on my to-do list agenda. And I realized, like, oh, I did get to see like the very end. I got to see that Eric Jones won the fan vote. That's when I tuned in. I'm like, oh shoot, the Open was on. I completely missed it. So
Yeah.
I heard I didn't really miss much, but
No, I mean, you saw Tyler Reddick crash, and then we had some racing with a little bit of guys. I mean, it used to be fun, but I think it used to be fun because it was the Saturday night before, or the Friday night before the Saturday night event. But I think the All-Star race in general is just so lackluster nowadays that, I mean, we're not really excited about it, and we haven't been since pre-COVID. Since those last 3 years have just been not so hot. I will say this: I complained about it on Twitter. I complained about it a lot every year. Why the hell do we even have a fan vote if they're not gonna put the fan vote guy in the All-Star? Because did Eric Jones win the fan vote, or did Eric Jones come in second or third in the fan vote, and the guys that finished first and second already raced their way in. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would do that. Did Tyler Reddick potentially win the fan vote, crash out? You know, I don't know. That's the biggest gripe that I've always had with the fan vote. Why do we not just pull the guy in on the pace laps and say, hey, this man won the fan vote, so take your car to the garage, get ready, you're going racing later.
Yeah,
They should do it. They should do it by cheers. They should, whenever they're doing driver intros, they should just have all those guys in there, and whoever has the loudest cheers gets. That'd be kind of fun. That'd be an interesting way to go about it.
I'd even be down for like everyone gets a little ticket stub when they walk into the grandstands, and only the people at the race get a vote in.
Oh,
You know, put it in a bucket, right? You get to throw it in one driver's bucket, and then same thing. I agree. They need to pull the guy off before the race even starts, because I do not think that Eric Jones won that fan vote. I think Tyler Reddick probably would have won it. I think Daniel Suarez was probably second. I think that even Buescher, Stenhouse, right? I'm not saying that Eric Jones isn't popular. He isn't a cool guy. I just don't see him getting a ton of votes enough to be the fan vote winner. I think NASCAR just had to call an audible and call the guy that finished maybe fifth in the fan voting.
So, with all that being said, we've already critiqued the first thing, and we haven't even got to the All-Star race. I want to, before we get into a woke or joke about the All-Star race, let's go ahead, since it was such a lackluster thing, since it took us so long to get started with the conversation, because we just don't want to go through the chore of this All-Star race. How do we fix it? How do you guys fix it?
Oh man, I don't know. For starters, I'm usually a traditionalist. I like tradition, but I feel like I've kind of progressed past the need for an all-star race because other sports have them, because maybe the best players in the NBA don't get to play each other in the regular season, whereas we have the 10 best drivers. They race each other every single week. So it's like there's no longer anything special about the event if it's not entertaining. I feel like that was the only thing that really kept it around. You know, it was a gimmick and it was fun, but now you still get the gimmicks, but you don't get any of the fun. So it's like, why go through the chore of having an all-star race anymore? Because it just seems like a lot of a waste for not really much in return.
So are you going to make this another points race then?
I wouldn't make their 37 points races. I don't think I would do that, but I would probably just I would move one of the off weeks to All-Star Week instead.
Jared, what do you got?
Well, I would like it to go back to Charlotte. I mean, we've seen in the past there have been a lot of really good races, even like the open races at Charlotte back in the day. But I know that'll never happen. But maybe something we could fix is maybe try the stadium, like the stadium type of deal or whatever. I feel like if you're not gonna go back to Charlotte, try to go to a short track or something, and maybe have, if you want your guys like wrecking each other, or like if they want all this drama and stuff with that, like why don't we just have a short track, like a stadium style Bowman Grace type of deal? Just have those guys just make it a junkyard and just wreck each other and go out for that $1 million. I mean, you saw at Texas, like once the leader got out, they were in control of the race, and it wasn't even anywhere close. Like that's not super exciting. But I liked Colton's idea of only having one guy transfer, because like he made a good point. That does kind of take the credibility away. You have 4 guys transferring in. Like why race? You know, I think it used to only be like 50 laps, and the top 2 made it in, and then the fan vote made it in. So why don't we just do something like that? Or even what Colton said wasn't a bad idea either. But I don't really know what else to fix about it. I think we could maybe try rotating tracks, going somewhere different. But honestly, anything that's not an all-star race at Texas is good for me.
Yeah. I honestly think that it's Texas. I honestly do. After these last 2 years, I think that it's Texas. I think everyone hates that track and wants to bulldoze it. And the next gen car could not even save this racetrack. So I think that realistically, it's not something that we could even do at a track that's not Charlotte Motor Speedway, because having it at Charlotte Motor Speedway made it a destination race for fans, because they could go to the All-Star 1 week, stay the week in Charlotte, hit all of the teams on either side of Charlotte going up I-85 or I-77 one day and the other day to see all of the team shops, to go to the Hall of Fame one day, to go to GoPro Motorplex one day and ride go-karts with their family. I think it just has to be back in Charlotte. I think that gives the crew guys 2 whole weeks to be home, sleep in their own beds. They don't have to worry about stuff. I think there's no reason not to have it at Charlotte. And then the only other thing is we had a great bit of segments there for, I want to say that the latter part of the 2000s and 2010s that I'd like to go back to. 15 lap segments, and they inverted the field. And if you won each of the segments, you started 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything else was based off of your average finish. I think that is the way to go. And then they had a 30-lap feature, quote unquote, where they had to do a green flag pit stop. Those were the funnest all-stars for me. So that's how I would fix it.
If you guys gave me control over NASCAR, and this is the one thing I got to change, I am changing everything about it. You guys mentioned the tracks. It absolutely needs to change tracks. We don't need to be sending guys like BJ McLeod and Rick Ware out to Texas, right? We all know we're already short on parts. We're already kind of cutting teams' cost a little bit close. Why are we sending these backmarker teams out to Texas to run 15 seconds off the pace in 10 laps? Doesn't make any sense. They're not there for any money. They're just wasting money at that point. So first off, change who is eligible. I would run it at the very end of the year. I think Jordan Bianchi was the first one to bring this up. Run at the end of the year. We already do our banquet at Nashville. Run it at, if we have to do the Nashville Super Speedway from now, fine. But do it the night before the banquet. Only the drivers who won a race during the season and then the previous All-Star race winner get to go in. Maybe one guy races in. But I don't think there's a need to have all these guys out here. I don't think we need 5 drivers getting into the All-Star race who weren't eligible. It doesn't need to be a 24-race field. If 8 guys win a race that year, cool. The field is 9 cars if the previous All-Star doesn't get in. I like that. A true All-Star race, because now, 10 years from now, Ryan Blaney could suck absolute ass like we saw with Michael Waltrip, right? But he won an All-Star race where he gets to be there. I don't like that. You know, the All-Star MVP in every other sport doesn't get to be in the All-Star game every year. Right. I mean, that sucks. If you weren't good enough, sorry, you should have won a race. I would obviously change tracks, not Texas. I'd rather go back to, if we're going to do it at the end of the year, Nashville's perfect. If we're going to go to anywhere else and keep it the same weekend, I'd prefer Charlotte. Anywhere within like 3 to 3.5 hours of Charlotte is good, because it still feels kind of like a home race. At least the teams don't have to travel as far. Martinsville, Bristol, Richmond, keep it a shorter track. I'd go as big as Darlington. I wouldn't go 1.5 miles if we're not going to go to Charlotte. With the format, I would even do like fucking qualifying in the Legends Oval. Screw it. If we're not going to do the pit stop thing that we used to do with guys hauling ass down pit road. The format needs to be, there has to be a little bit of everything. A green flag pit stop. Loved that. I'm not necessarily on board with it. If you win a stage, you get to start up front. But we can easily tweak it to where we know that the best cars are going to start up front. Or do a final 50-lap stage and make the best cars start in the back. Oh. Let's see them work their way. If you're an all-star, you should be able to pass everyone.
Right.
There's a lot of things that we can do here. If we're going to have an all-star race, it needs to be the most gimmicky shit that we have. I am so anti-gimmick on points races, but I am so pro-gimmick on shit like this. But we can't let those gimmicks outweigh safety like we saw this last weekend. You can't be sitting there mashing a fucking caution button anytime someone touches a wall. That's bullshit. But give me gimmicks. Give me inverted fields every 5 laps. Give me crew guys have to, fucking carry 1 tire at a time. I don't know. Make it gimmicky. Make it fun. Make it animated. The NBA has a 3-point contest. MLB has a home run derby. I don't know. Let's do something.
So you brought up the Legends Oval, and I think in order to keep it to Charlotte, and people don't like 1.5 miles. They just don't. I don't think the next gen car. We'll see how it does this weekend at the Coke 600 to see if it does anything for Charlotte. But I think if you prove that the 1/4 mile races can work. The Legends Oval at Charlotte has a wider radius turn. Why not just run the Clash at Charlotte Motor Speedway and call it the All-Star race the week before the 600? Hell, the night before the 600. You could do it on a Friday or Saturday night before the 600 and have the same cars enter the 600, because we do that anyways with these next-gen cars now. So
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. I think it needs a total revamp.
I like it. I'm behind it. It's the best take I've heard.
When was the last time? I know my answer to this. When was the last time you saw a driver win a race and be excited and mention that they were going to be in the All-Star race? Casey Cannon's the last guy I remember.
has to be before playoffs.
Definitely before playoffs. How excited do you think Ricky Stenhouse would be if he won a random one-off race at Talladega and got to make the All-Star race that very same year?
Probably wouldn't care.
He probably wouldn't care. No. Not in the current format. Maybe if it was at the end of the year right before the banquet. Maybe a little bit.
Are NASCAR, well, I should say, is NASCAR going to let that happen, though? Because the whole reason we have a 16-car playoff is because sponsorships all want their, they don't want to sit at the big table. So they don't want to get less coverage because their car didn't make the playoffs and all this other stuff. So are they going to let that happen and not just put the 16 in, period?
That's fine. Even if we do it just the 16 playoff guys, no fan vote, no nothing. I'd still be all right with that because it still feels like all-stars. It doesn't feel like all-stars with Austin Dillon and, Chris Buescher and Ricky Stenhouse and guys like that. I want to see the guys who are relevant enough in the sport to be winning races.
It just looks like your normal top 20 in every race.
Yeah.
Like it's no different than another.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think the reason that the All-Star race has fallen flat and the Clash 2 before this year is because we have playoffs. We already get these gimmicks. We already get this win and end type deal. I don't think that it doesn't matter anymore. That was an escapism from the 36 race grind to win a pole and go to Daytona, to win a race and go to the All-Star. Now polls don't even matter anymore, and winning a race gets you into the playoffs. So what's more important, a race that doesn't matter or a race that does? It's not.
And
NASCAR's out-gimmicked itself, basically.
$1 million ain't what it was when they first started that $1 million promotion. If we're going to...
I think you win 2.5 for winning the Daytona 500, right?
At least, if not more than that, yeah. So, if we're going to make this a true all-star race and get guys and fans excited about the money, $3 million. Sure. $4 million.
Yeah, that works.
You want to see some hard racing, let the drivers know that they are going to pocket $1 million and their team's going home with $3 million.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we got Nathan on here, and he and I have the same driver that is our favorite driver, and that is Denny Hamlin. So tonight's Woker Joke is going to be centered around Denny Hamlin. I've got some points to make. Colton's got some points to make. I'm sure Nathan will have some points to make. And this is basically a bunch of controversy, I'll say that with air quotes, from the last couple of weeks within the scope of what Denny Hamlin has to say. He has basically took on the role of the heel, not on the racetrack, but the heel to NASCAR. I think we saw this with Tony Stewart his last couple of years as well. So, that's something that we all are used to and we all love. So, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the biggest one. Denny Hamlin tweeted out that there were going to be no major investments. They were going to cease to have any major investments in 2311 until NASCAR changes their business model. Is this a Woker Joke statement?
Ooh, that's a woke. I think he alluded to the TV deal as the biggest reason. We don't really know what the percentage is. We don't know how the pie gets split, but it seems like a lot of it goes to the racetracks and not a lot of it goes to the teams. So he gave you a number that 75% of the team's income relies on sponsorship. So there isn't really a lot of guaranteed money that goes to the teams. And I think what he's saying is that I'm not going to put big money down until I see some changes that maybe makes it a little bit more feasible for us to show up. Because like any business owner, I'm sure if you owned a business and you saw something, you'd probably vet it out first. You wouldn't just pour money into it if you didn't know you'd get anything back. I just think that it needs to be done because there has to be a reason to make teams want to show up. If he's already vetting it and he's a team owner and he's saying, do I really want to build a new race shop? Like I said, or do I want to wait until something changes?
Right.
You know, if you're a new owner that's thinking about getting into the sport, there might be guys sitting on the sidelines and saying, hey, I'd really love to be in NASCAR right now, but I don't want to be because this isn't working for us.
Yeah, especially if you're losing money in a situation, I'll just piggyback. I think Nate said it pretty well, actually. So I'll agree with that on that statement.
Yeah.
Nate, you made a great point about the slices of pie. If y'all listen to the Dale Jr. Downloaded all this week, Denny really goes into depth on this, and I'm going to bring this up in my next Woger joke, so I can kind of overview it for all the people listening, and then Jared and Alex as well. But I mean, I think it's woke for Denny because he's mainly talking about a third car in building his shop, and he's not going to do that until he sees that NASCAR is moving forward to changing their demographic from the average age of 62 down to something lower, closer to what you need to be successful.
Right. I think it's woke. Based on that last point, you know, you can't have retirees spending money because they're on their pensions, they're on their Social Security, they don't have expendable income. You got to have people like us who will spend every dollar we earn on NASCAR, and there's a dwindling few of us. The 18 to 49 demographic, I think it's way too wide, but that's what they're focusing on. We're only getting 500,000 people each week out of 2+ million viewers. That's ridiculous. So it's a woke on that statement in specifically, but also NASCAR does have to change its business practices, because when I heard about this, it reminded me of something I saw on a Reddit thread, I want to say around 2015, after this new partnership deal came out. They split, if I can recall this correctly, call me out in the comments if I'm wrong. If you look at the money, the pie is about 65% Cup, about 25% Xfinity, and the rest of it is trucks, ARCA, K&N at the time, and everything else. That, as far as TV money goes, is not sustainable for an Xfinity or a truck team. I do not know how guys like Jordan Anderson are making money, and he's just opened up a second car in the Xfinity series on top of the truck series team that he just had. So I don't know how he's making money. I don't know how one of our guys, Jeremy Clements, is making money. I don't know how Alpha Prime is fielding more than one car, because they don't have these big sponsorships. I don't know how they're doing it. They're just doing it based off the passion and the burn and the fire in their heart. And NASCAR can't neglect these people, because eventually there's not going to be any of these people to fill the fields. And you need those field fillers to have entertaining races, because you need those Cinderella stories sometimes. So 100% woke on Denny. The TV money thing is just asinine right now. And even before you get into how you split it between the teams and the tracks, how you split it amongst the three top series is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Colton, you're up for your next one.
So, in my previous comment about the whole slices of pie that Nate brought up, Denny did mention this week on the Dale Jr. Download that there's more than enough money being brought in through the TV deal, that Cup teams really don't need to have sponsors every week. If they split the pie up more, right, and this is kind of the point that Denny brought up, so I want you guys to woke or joke whether or not you agree with Denny. You split the pie up more, teams can use the sponsors for profit, essentially. And then the actual sharing of the media, the TV deal, everything like that from NASCAR doesn't get funneled so much towards the tracks, because I guess these tracks are making a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
Before I heard this, I was in the boat of thinking that tracks like Pocono were kind of on their last leg because they probably weren't making a ton from the TV deal. No, that is bullshit. These tracks, if they're going to be getting this money, obviously need to be doing more with it.
Right. Like he said, fan amenities, I think.
Exactly. And I brought it up to Alex and Jared before the show. Like, that's why we see so many tracks having carnivals and shit and big concerts now, is because people are starting to learn how much money these tracks are making. So, woke or joke, do you guys actually think that is sustainable? That if NASCAR splits this up a little bit better, the teams can afford to run hard and run evenly without sponsorship.
I'm definitely woke on this because I feel like the less you rely on a sponsor, the more it gives freedom to a race team. I think I'm not saying that pay drivers will disappear entirely because there's always going to be pay drivers in any form of racing, even F1, where the teams are already sponsored. But I think it would reduce the need to say, hey, we need to have a driver that brings in funding. They could maybe take a risk and say, hey, we want a really talented driver in our Xfinity car that doesn't have a sponsor. There are things that NASCAR teams really can't do anymore. I mean, JGR can't even run 3 full-time Xfinity cars, if I recall correctly. It's just crazy. And I think something needs to change, and I think it'd be a lot better if they split the pie up better because it seems like these tracks take all the money, but like you said, I wouldn't mind if they used it for good, but it seems like they're just using it for like old carnivals or whatever. It's not just they need to make the fan experience better.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It'd be nice to actually see the drivers who actually put on the show and the entertainment that everyone's actually at the track for get a little bit more. And like Nate was saying, it'd be nice to get like actually talented drivers in there rather than have to worry about like buying your ride. As you see, like how half the truck series is, it's just guys with money get in. Like maybe you start seeing guys in the truck series that are like actually talented there, then you actually might be able to see a cool system where drivers actually move up based off of talent rather than just doing trucks a year and then jumping right to Cup because like, oh, I have a bunch of money, I can go race Cup, or I have a bunch of money, I can just do Xfinity without doing truck series or something. So I think from the competitive aspect, I think if you give teams more of that freedom there, you're actually going to see more competitiveness out of the cars and maybe not just the same groups week in, week out. Like you might see some more of those like guys that run back 20th plus. If that's more competitive, maybe you might see them running up front. Have that diversity or whatever throughout the field that everyone was talking the next gen was supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't think the next gen has disappointed us on that end, but I can tell as we're getting through the season more, the back and forth is becoming smaller swings when it comes to these lower teams. For me, it's going to be a definite woke. I think obviously you need a field to play on. Obviously in NASCAR, each of those fields are different. They require a lot of stuff, but also as much as I've been to races and talked to fans and heard fans who have been to different racetracks and said the amenities at Atlanta Motor Speedway are the best that I've seen. Other than Daytona, that if that statement's true, then that's sad. If you guys are getting that much money and what I would expect to be the bare minimum of what you see when you go to Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is a very clean concourse, very, very robust and clean stands, very nice restrooms and stuff like that. If that's not what you're getting at other racetracks, why do I even want to go there as a fan? So first of all, why are we giving all this money to these tracks if they're not reinvesting it into themselves and their fan experience? Not just stuff to do there, but like look at Indianapolis as soon as Roger Penske took that place over. It went from being, excuse my French, but a shithole to one of the cleanest racetracks I've ever been to. Why isn't that happening with these things around the country? So if we can't invest into that, give it to the teams, because if the fans aren't going to have a nice experience at the track because their amenities are not good, they're at least going to have something to watch if the teams have more money to spend on driver talent, on mechanical talent, on engineering talent, and equipment. So I'm 100% woke. There's no way it's not sustainable, because I feel like it's just like any other topic of economics. The CEO is taking home way too much money of all these racetracks and not putting it back into the company.
Yeah, and there was a good point that I forgot to make. It was a little bit after that in the episode, but he mentioned that a lot of racing sponsorship depends on the CEO or the CFO of a company. A company can get a new CEO that doesn't like racing, and they're like, okay, cool, we're gone, like Lowe's or whatever. And for a race team's entire backbone to depend on some Fortune 500 CEO deciding, oh, I don't like racing anymore, like that's a tough spot, because you're pretty much depending and hoping and praying that the next higher up that gets put in charge of the business ends up liking racing as much as the last guy did.
So
Yeah.
Steve
Go ahead.
Kearns, we had him on recently. Do you guys remember what he said about how he got in touch with Jeremy? Is that his position in his job is,
Right.
I mean, kind of marketing, and he likes racing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how First
That's
Pacific Funding got to sponsoring Jeremy Clements. They hit it off, and that was it. How many of these other companies do you think are like that? Or how many companies sponsor Bubba and Kurt just because of Michael Jordan?
I'd say
A
the
lot of
latter.
them.
Like, I hate
A
to
lot
say
of
it,
them.
but I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think some of these companies would be there if it wasn't for Jordan. It's like,
Right.
I'm sure McDonald's is like, yeah, this is Michael Jordan. You know, we used to work with him in the 90s. So,
Yeah. It's a little bit frustrating, right? Because you see that with M&M's. We're losing a sponsor that's been there for 32 years. And they're just gone. And the team has to rely on that, man. I think that really does, that sucks, because you could have a powerhouse team lose a two-time champion this year based on the fact that they don't have any sponsorship. When there's money to be had, and I'm sorry, just because you've got the field to play on doesn't mean that you're the people that make the sport's money. It's the drivers and the teams, whether that's just because of the personality, but also the product. And I'm sorry, but I think NASCAR would still survive if it only drove 6 racetracks in the Southeast.
Yeah.
It's not about the racetracks. It's about the drivers. That's what it comes down to. It's about the racing. I'm telling you, if we had 6 racetracks with six races apiece: Charlotte, Darlington, Atlanta, Martinsville, Bristol, Daytona, and Talladega, and interchange a few of those, the sport would still survive. It would regress to a regional sport, but it would still survive. So,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to me to think that teams are out here potentially struggling, but there's money in the bank. And we thought this was going to be fixed with the charter system, but obviously it wasn't. Any other points on this particular worker joke before we move on to the next one?
No, I mean, I think I hit everything that I hit on it.
So this kind of moves into the All-Star race. So we're going to kind of poke a little bit of fun at everything. NASCAR cares more about them not being wrong than about the safety of a driver.
I gotta go with. I'm not saying it's woke for me, but for them it probably is. That's probably the way they think. And I think what Hamlin said is that every time they mess up, they will just mess up again to try and rectify the previous mess up instead of just admitting they mess up the first time. You know, it's kind of like, it's like as a kid, like if a kid gets caught lying, they're just going to keep lying and lying and lying, and they're just going to go down the slippery slope instead of just admitting the first time. When if they just admitted the first time, they probably would get in a whole lot less trouble.
Absolutely.
It just like what Hamlin was saying is that they could have let Blaney come down the pits, tighten his net, and keep his spot. They could have done that, but they didn't want to do that. So they put themselves in another mess by breaking one of their own rules to let him run without the net. And it's like, why don't you just admit your fault and then be done? You don't have to go down.
Yeah, I mean, I think every person who was watching that race definitely knew that they probably weren't gonna say anything about Blaney's window net just because of the fact after seeing the replays and the caution of the Stenhouse barely touching the wall on the last lap and the whole field clears by and the caution comes out like this far away from the start finish line. Like they knew they messed up there. They knew they wanted that dramatic finish or whatever. But so yeah, basically as Nate said it, they were just trying to cause another controversy to talk about to get you away from, oh, hey, we threw a caution when we probably didn't need to throw a caution.
So this would just be classified for me under like all-star gambling. I'm going to go woke in the fact that, Alex, your statement is true, but joke in the fact of why the fuck does this keep happening? Because this is the first time we've seen them put safety on the line in, regards to them making a mistake. The Truck Series race last year, where Johnny Sauter absolutely plowed a car that was sitting along the wall in Charlotte on the front stretch
And you could see it because it was right in front of where we were sitting.
You could see it, right? You could almost see it on TV. They were panning the cameras out so wide. That was one, the Truck Series race again, where a car got smoked after, sitting on the inside wall and no one threw a caution. He was actually sitting in the car hurt with, I think it was like a dislocated shoulder or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it time and time again where they either throw a caution for no reason, like Stenhouse, last car in the pack, rushing the wall, not even any visible damage.
You know what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
Or they wanted that green white checker.
Right. Or not throwing a caution at all. It's complete bullshit, and it seems like it's getting worse, right? A truck smoking another truck at full speed is bad. Just wait and see if Blaney got turned into the outside wall coming off turn 2 and see how bad that one would have been. We keep getting deeper into this rabbit hole. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with joke on NASCAR for this, but woke on Denny's statement. My biggest thing was he said that they were racing hard, and he let Blaney in front of him because they could have wrecked when he came up to block him, and he did not want to see Blaney get hurt. And that, to me, not only did you just take away a piece of competition because you felt like you needed to help your fellow driver out. That says to me that NASCAR 100% did not care. And if you listen to DBC this week, Jeff Burton confirmed that you just can't put that latch on by yourself. It usually takes the biggest guy in the pit box to get that thing latched. So there's no way that he did it. If you look at some stills after the race, that was not latched. It was latched with air quotes. Next up, though, I will say that Denny's just kept us with some content today. He said that Ryan Blaney should have been black flagged rather than being able to restart. Woke or joke, Ryan Blaney should have been black flagged.
Well, Denny also said that if he was in the lead, he'd have done the same thing as Blaney. Should Blaney have been black flagged for that thing? Yes. Should he have been put in that position in the first place? No. So I'm going to say in a roundabout way, and granted, I'm a Blaney fan, so I've got a little bit of bias here. But I'm going to say no, he shouldn't have been black flagged because he shouldn't have been put in that situation in the first place. NASCAR should have, like we just alluded to, admitted to their mistake, let him come down, fix the net, give him his spot back. Or if you're going to black flag him, you'd have had at least me super pissed off, right? So, I was texting you guys the whole time. I wasn't even going to celebrate that win. I was damn sure going to start throwing tomatoes if that cost him the win.
Yeah, I got to agree. I think I'm exactly with what Colton said. I don't think he should have been put in the place in the first place. So, like I said many times, I wasn't really a fan of it because I'm sure if I was playing, I get PTSD every time I win a race now. I'm not lowering this net until I get to victory lane. That's just the way it is.
Interview.
Yeah, he should have just stayed in the car. But yeah, I agree with Colton 100% on that. I would say also we could pull some cards for some gimmicks since green flag laps only counted. I feel like if he got black flagged and went down, he should have been able to keep his spot because the field hasn't reset yet and those laps haven't counted.
That is not a point that I've heard anyone argue.
The Bristol dirt out on him.
Yeah. Pull some Bristol dirt on him. If only green flag laps count, if he comes down pit road under caution, kept his position.
Lap doesn't count.
Lap doesn't count.
This is big brain stuff right here.
Absolutely. So Jared just made a just massive big brain decision that NASCAR couldn't even fathom because their pea brains didn't understand their own rules. So we'll get into the rules about the last caution in our next Woker joke. But what I think is, yes, Ryan Blaney should have been black flagged. He should have known the rules. And it is up to he and his team to make sure that he is in a safe car and it is safe going around the racetrack at full speed. It was not. So hands down, if they were going to restart the race, which they wound up doing, Blaney should have had a safely latched window net. So I think he should have been black flagged. I at the time, until just right now, think that he would have been sent to the back, and I would have been okay with it because he messed with safety equipment and had to get it refixed in pit lane. But Jared, you just swayed me. There's no reason that NASCAR couldn't have just given him his spot back because there was no competition under the yellow flag because green flag only counts. So, yeah, that NASCAR should have brought him down, should have given him the mechanical black flag, but let him fix it like they do at the short tracks. You got 3 laps, bud, or you're going to the rear.
Yeah.
Simple.
I think so. With flags in mind, the reason that we've just been talking about this for the last 15 minutes, the reason that Denny Hamlin said so much in his post-race interview with Bob for about 3.5 minutes, all comes down to this. Denny Hamlin said that the caution for the 47 should never have even happened. Woke or joke?
That's woke. Like, I don't even have to comment much on that. I think it was pretty much, it was super clear that they're like, oh my God, we need a green white checker. And I'm sure I'll bring up a past example. There was a Richmond race, I think 4 years ago, I think 2017. And a Truex had like a 5-second lead. They were coming to the white flag. And Derek Cope, like I don't even think he touched the wall. Like he literally just locked up and ran a little bit wide. Like, and they're like, oh my God, caution immediately.
Yeah.
And Truex gets turned head on in the wall in the restart. So ever since that, I think it's pretty clear what they want. Like they're just, oh my God, please give us a restart right now. And the race had been boring, and they're probably like, we need to save this race one way or another. So
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like there's just watch the replay. Like it's the last lap. The whole field's cleared. Like it's the last lap. Come on, like, there was no need for that. And I don't even know what the point of them even like changing the green white checkered roll for the All-Star race was even for. Like they knew they.
So
yeah, it's not. Yeah. If it was a short track, maybe it'd be a little bit different. And I could understand, but like Texas, come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on.
That obviously joke for changing the rules for this race, not really making that clear to everybody. I'm assuming I wasn't the only one that was confused about what the hell just happened. There was just no need for it. And then I've got 2 more points. Firstly being to Nate, he said that it was kind of boring. Well, no shit. It's been boring all night because we've been doing 25-lap sprints on a track that needs tire wear. Why the hell did they throw an all-star caution for what? You didn't spice things up. If you'd have told these guys they had to do a green flag pit stop and or just ran 50 laps green, you'd have seen the 11 catch Blaney and pass him because he was the fastest car on the track. You'd have seen guys like the 99 of Suarez who could pass go through the field. You'd have seen Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had he not had that moment clear up the field because he was battling with Alex Bowman for 5 laps at that point. You would have seen more battles in a longer run. We talked about it on the In Between Media Backroad podcast last night that we aren't really shutting off Texas for the 500 miles because of that. We think longer runs would have helped this race. So I will stand with that. But for my last point, I had a third one. Let me try and remember what it was. Oh, yes. The 47 did not touch the wall. The 47 did not touch another car. The 47 was, I think, third from the last car on the racetrack. So there was no need for that caution to come out. And then I guess 4th point, Ryan Blaney is coming under the flag stand, and he is 100 feet plus or minus from hitting the start-finish line. No one here has driven a race car, but I have been on a flag stand. Once the guys, you can literally look in their eyes coming to you on a flag stand. Once they get within about 100 feet, they can't see you anymore. You don't matter anymore. That's why you have to throw the flag a lot earlier while the cars are coming to you. That I guarantee you, Ryan Blaney did not see the fact that there was a caution flag out. So for that matter alone, why the hell did you throw it if he was that close?
So, I mean, complete joke that they threw this caution. To your point about the flag, they didn't even throw a caution flag. They just flipped on the lights.
Really?
Like they showed a replay, yeah, and the flagman's still waving the checkered flag. as the caution lights turn on and they're going, and he's still waving the checkered for people coming by.
Jesus Christ.
Scott Miller from NASCAR even came out and said that should not have been a caution. I don't know if they are hovering their hand over the button. They have to be. There's no other reason.
There's no way they're not.
I keep telling you guys, we're like 4 or 5 years away from mandatory green, white checkers every week. This is exactly.
I couldn't do that.
Exactly it. They saw that
long run racing leads itself to better racing. I don't understand.
I completely agree. Completely, 100%. However, NASCAR executives think that, us as the younger demographic want to see a complete shit show. When that final restart happened, I was texting you guys and I was telling everyone that I could, like, you watch, Cindric is going to come and he's going to plow right through everyone. He's going to win this race for fucking nothing. Right? Because he was just up front for a little bit and that's all he needed. I think we're only a few years away from that if we keep going in the same direction. Because they look for any reason to throw a caution last 50 laps of a race. Yeah. Any reason whatsoever.
And I think it's funny because when you look at fans of Formula One that are coming in the U.S. market, they're not coming in because it's a gimmicky sport. They're coming in because they understand the nuances of the sport because of Drive to Survive. So a sport that can go and most likely will go green, I'd say 80% of the races have strategy. I mean, if you're a fan, it depends on the racetrack, obviously. They're doing that because it's palpable, because they get to see the nuances of it. Well, we don't have nuance anymore. We have canned up, bottled up, spewing everywhere entertainment, and that's not the demographic that's going to grow the sport.
Right.
I don't get it.
Right. If we're going to do things like other sports and have playoffs and shit like that, we need to look at what other sports are doing to draw fans in. People don't watch football for the last 2 minutes, right? Maybe some people do. Maybe some people watch for the green, white, checkered and for the wrecks. Fine, they're watching. Who cares? The real fans of football watch the whole game for the drives. Racing fans will watch because of the race. We don't watch because there's a green, white, checkered and our guy's in 6th and he might have a chance to win it. And a lot of the friends I have that are my age that are getting into racing now are fans of Formula One because of Drive to Survive. And I brought a few over for the Daytona 500, and they said, how many times, what the fuck are they doing? Because they understand, like you said, the nuances of racing. They understand what the crews are doing, what the drivers are doing. It's a different format, sure, circles versus circuits. But they still understand racing, and they enjoy it, and they do not enjoy NASCAR.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. All right, so before we get to one more kind of meme tweet from Denny Hamlin, I do want to say something about the first or the second stage of the race. Jared and I talked about this from a different point of view on last night's podcast with the in-between guys, and that was the incident with the 18 and the 1 at the beginning, or I guess near the end of stage 2. I'm gonna make a statement personally that Kyle Busch is the reason that Kyle Busch got hit. I think he made a bonehead move by not staying high with that flat tire. Woke or Joe?
Oh man, I'm kind of split. Like, I think it's one of those deals where it's like you got a second to choose, and either way you can get hit. It just depends on the guy behind you. So I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to go full armchair, but I'll go partial armchair and say that maybe he did. But I don't want to pin it all on one guy because it just seemed like such a freak incident. I think when you remember when Chase Elliott blew an engine in the 600 one year, and I think the 2 car, I think in the same spot of the track too, like the second part of the dog leg, someone just plowed right into him because there wasn't anywhere to go. So I don't know. I mean, I do think that maybe they could have done something different, but it's such a heat of the moment thing to where I can't really fault anybody because I don't know what I'd have done.
I'm going to say woke. That's why Kyle Busch got hit by Ross Chastain. But had he stayed high, he was in a really shitty part in the racetrack. If he didn't get hit by Chastain at the bottom, like, I get what he was trying to do. He's trying to get down so he can get to the apron right after the grass and get completely out of the way and not have to worry about something else coming off. But if he doesn't go down there and at least try to get completely off the track, he's going to get pinched up into the wall and probably take out at least one other guy if he stays up high, just based on kind of how they wash up to the wall right there. It's a split-second thing. I think that was just a racing incident, probably the shittiest part in Texas to blow a tire.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything. I think he probably would have done it different, but I still think he's collecting at least one other car with him.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with that one. I mean, we could also point some fingers at Ross Chastain's spotter. Also, be like, hey, the 18's slow, and watch where. Maybe keep an eye out on the 18. Like, hey, he looks like he's creeping lower. Maybe you go high. Everyone else went high before he did. That's what I saw at least. But I mean, he also had cut tires, so it's not really like he can have the choice to move up super high or move down low as fast as he could. So it's more of a racing incident than anything. I know there's some beef on Twitter about that. I saw people were getting into on it, but
yeah,
I just stayed out of that because I'm like, that's not even worth anything to get into. It's just a racing incident. I was already upset to begin with, and didn't make a difference whether I was right or wrong about that situation. So
I think the situation need not happen, right? So Kyle Busch is going to win the pole for the last segment because he won the first segment. He didn't need to stay out on tires. And then I really do think that it was not totally on fault of him, but I think because he did not stay high, I think he got hit by Ross. I don't think Ross was paying hard enough attention. Throw that on the spotter, throw that on him. He didn't slow down enough. And I know it was a split-second kind of racing deal, but you can slow those cars down more than that. So I don't know if he just let off the gas and wasn't hitting the brake, but I think it was just a failure of a bunch of different people at that point.
yeah. Also, we could just point some fingers at maybe just pit and not have to worry about tire issues. And
Right.
I was against pitting, but I guess it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're going, I understand their point. They were just trying. I guess they were just trying to stay up front and lead as much as they possibly, just stay in clean air as much as they possibly can, rather than mess with the car and get stuck back in traffic. I get that, I guess, but it also sucks that after seeing how everyone else's tires sucked, I can see that maybe we should have just pitted and figured it out from there.
Yeah, and I think maybe that the passing had a little bit to do with it, of the call to stay out. Is that, hey, it's really hard to pass here unless you have that clean air. So we might be able to just save a really good position here if we stay out and can kind of save our tires a little bit. We don't have to run balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Maybe so. All right. Well, our last joke of the night is going to be Q from Denny Hamlin again. He was kind of being a bit of a snarky asshole on Twitter, as he does. And he said Mark Martin won that race at Bristol in the Busch Series, where he came down on the white flag under yellow and did not take the checker to win. So did Mark Martin, in fact, win that race? Woke or joke?
Did he keep up with pace speed?
No.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
How far down this rabbit hole are we going?
As far as you want. Denny Hamlin opened up the rabbit hole. We can climb way down through it.
We can go all the way to.
I mean, I think it's different with Mark Martin because he straight up made a mistake. Whereas I think Ryan Blaney couldn't be faulted for lowering the window net because everyone thought the race was over. Whereas when Mark Martin made that mistake, everybody knew it was a mistake. Like, there wasn't like, oh, he did it because of this. It was, no, he just did a stupid move. And I almost made a point to when I won a race at Bushnell, the pit entry is right after the start-finish line. And I took the checkered, and I didn't know this at the time, but I was a lap ahead of everybody else. And I did an extra lap after the checkers, and they're like, no, go into the pits. The race is over. And I was like, well, I just didn't want to be the guy that goes off too early because I didn't know if the flag was for me or not.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it's like I've made this point to make sure to take the checkered flag. And I feel like that's a little different than, somebody actually thinking the race is over. Because no one thought the Bristol race was over. That was only a Mark Martin thing. Whereas when Blaney left that net up, everybody thought it was over.
Yeah. I'm going to say no, Mark didn't win it. I'm going to say Blaney probably shouldn't have won that All-Star race too. Unless they just don't. That's what I mean. How far down this rabbit hole do we go? Like, do we do what we said earlier and Blaney gets his spot back and maybe races for the win, and then Denny races him harder, If Mark stays out there, he's gonna win the race, but there's just so many what ifs with this All-Star race comparing the two.
Yeah, like it was. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
tough one.
Yeah, I feel like it's a completely different circumstance to kind of can't really compare that to. Because like another thing I'm thinking of is like that 2007 Kansas race that Greg Biffle won.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Yeah,
Like
that was iffy.
That's another one. That's another one we could throw in. Like, I don't think he won that race, but
Yeah, he was out before he got to the finish line.
he was doing like donuts in the circle as it's coming to the caution checkers and
Yeah, like he had been passed by like 4 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any one race I go back and change, it's that one. Clint Boyer won that race.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I love Greg Biffle and it was cool seeing him win. But I'm like, even when like 9-year-old me is like, there's no way he won that, and I was only 9 years old at that time, and I'm like, he definitely didn't win that race.
Well, did Marcos Ambrose win that race at Sonoma that he ran out of gas or he shut the car off going up the hill?
No, I mean he made a stupid mistake. I mean that's on him.
Yeah, that's different than like straight up running out of fuel.
Yeah,
like Biffle straight up ran out of fuel. Like there was no way he was maintaining speed. I mean, it sucks that he ran out like 100 yards before the finish, but I mean, he still ran out.
This could be a whole different episode right here, because I'm thinking of so many different other races about this now.
Yeah. All right then. Well, we've covered pretty much all we're going to cover from the All-Star race. So let's take the doom and gloom and go to some excitement. We've got the greatest day in racing, Sin the Monaco GP, because I don't think it's on Sunday.
No, it is. It's Sunday.
It is? They put it back on this weekend?
It's back.
I have not heard anything about it this week. That is
it's
wild.
Back. Yeah.
So we do have the greatest day in racing triple header back. I apologize, guys. I have not been paying enough attention to the F1 calendar, apparently. And you'd think I'd know this because it's my plan to be at Monaco on my birthday. Yeah, so we got 3 races this weekend. I'm assuming all of you guys are going to take in the triple header.
Absolutely.
I'm going to cast my first vote or my first question to Nathan, and that is, do we think these new cars can pass at Monaco, or is it still going to be just a crown jewel parade?
They're too fat. Like I said what I said. Those cars are enormous. I mean, at Monaco, like you've said before, it's hard enough to pass there with the older cars that were small. How is it going to be done with cars that are like twice the size? It's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm still going to watch it. I love qualifying. I like Monaco. I mean, I know it's not the greatest of races, but it doesn't change me from watching it every year, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just a part of the tradition. You got to do it. It doesn't matter if there's no overtakes. Monaco's Monaco. It's badass. Yeah. So Colton's got something he wants to say about it, and I think this is in reference to Formula E just had their race on the full circuit for the first time. So this is some controversy coming up from it. So Colton, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I've seen a couple articles this week that Formula One, I'm assuming just the FIA, wants Monaco to modernize its Grand Prix circuit and all its facilities at the threat of losing their date entirely. We're kind of at a weird crossroads with Monaco. Like, do we want racing or do we want to keep the tradition of Monaco on this weekend? Because
I don't
Monaco,
know how you can modernize it though.
You would have to widen the track, which isn't possible, and you would have to expand the paddock area to get more room for the crews and the bigger cars and everything that you need, which I also don't think is possible just because of the way the buildings are set up there. There is no firm talks on it. It's not an official statement from the FIA, but there are a lot of rumors that is the case going on, is that they're saying you need to fix this track, either relay it out completely or just
I think the real reason behind it is they want another street race somewhere else. I don't really think it's facilities. I think they're just using that as an excuse. I think they know that there's another place that could offer them a lot more money to race there. And I would hate to see it go. Yeah.
If they know what they're going to do when they do that, they're going to upset every single Formula One fan.
They're going to do the calendar in 5 years is going to be like 10 street races, maybe more.
And it goes deeper than just the widening of the track and the facilities too. It's because of the way that TV contracts are set up for the Monaco GP. It's not through the same people that do all the rest of the F1 races. It's through local Monaco stations and whatnot. So they miss a lot of the action that's on the track. They kind of don't know what to show all the time. The sponsorship is a huge deal. Rolex pays millions and millions of dollars to have the advertising that they do in Formula One. and a company like Tag Heuer gets essentially free advertising just in the Monaco street circuit because they don't really care who puts what where, and they don't really care how much money you spend for Formula One. They're going to show whatever they want. And then Monaco does not pay near what other tracks pay to be on the F1.
That's probably the biggest part
That's
for
a
me.
huge reason. Yeah.
I think they could probably just sum that up with the sponsorship obligations and letting the F1 guys that broadcast do the camera work. I think that's probably going to be the happy medium. I hope to God they don't take it back because my trend was turned 11 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, turned 22 at Indianapolis. So I'm thinking of turning 33 at the Monaco GP. So you guys better get your shit straight because I'm gonna be a very, 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 very angry fat boy if you mess with me and my stuff. You got anything to add to that, Jared?
No, you guys got that part. You got that covered.
All right. Well,
Jared's
second part.
I'm
Second
happy
part
for you.
of the Memorial Day triple header, that is the Indianapolis 500. I want to call back to what happened on Sunday. This is what some people were watching instead of the All-Star race pre-race festivities, and that was qualifying. What do you guys think of that lap? 4-lap average, I should say, from Scott Dixon.
Oh man, I'm excited for it. Like I like Indy qualifying. I love seeing that. And just a PSA, I think IndyCar wants to get to 1,000 horsepower in the next 5 or 6 years. So
Yes.
you might see it get even faster,
That's
assuming they
Yes.
keep the horsepower boost for qualifying. But
Right.
it's just I enjoy seeing it because I think it makes qualifying a spectacle to watch when these guys are hitting record speeds. So I have no complaints.
What was the speed trap that Connor Daly hit going into turn 3? Like 245?
243 something.
Yeah.
It was
ridiculous.
243.7
The-
into turn 3.
Yeah. The race fan and the absolute just like horsepower junkie in me is
Oh yeah.
balls to the wall, excited about it. You're talking about 234 miles an hour on 4 laps around a 2.5 mile long track. That is cooking. However, the race fan in me that has seen some pretty gnarly wrecks in person is kind of worried that this might be a dangerous race.
It's qualifying boost mainly, I think.
Yeah,
So.
and that's a lot of it. But we're also still, I mean, wasn't that the fastest 4-lap average in history?
No, second.
I think
Second,
yeah, second.
right?
Yeah,
Because
Ari Lyondike still
Ari
has
Lyondike,
that 246.07.
yeah, which
that's
miles.
crazy.
they probably won't hit again.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, eek. That's fast.
I mean, you should have seen those guys in the 90s. I think I was reading an article about everybody knows that Penske car that they made in the 90s, the one called Beast. It was not good in the corners, but they said it trap speeds that were like 249 miles an hour at Indy, but they had to slow down like 20 or 30 in the corners because the car didn't have a lot of downforce. And I think Paul Tracy got trapped at 256 in a Michigan test once in the 90s with like no draft. So
I couldn't even imagine.
just thinking about that. Yeah, just thinking about that. It's like those guys were nuts. I mean, there were no Hans device. There was no.
Yeah, like
I
we're
think the
closing
walls
in
were like
really.
solid concrete, and it's
Yeah,
just,
that's closing.
I'm hoping
in
now
speed.
that I'm hoping now that they can kind of start looking at 240 because they got the aero screen, they got soft walls, they're getting better. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to, you don't want to see guys going like 260 because, I think all the safety innovations in the world are probably not going to stop you at that point.
Right. At 260, how in the hell do you keep those things on the ground when they start spinning and spinning? Like they're airplanes.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping with the new cockpit that they're gonna make that's integrated with that. I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean, no, because it's gonna integrate with the aero screen, so it's not gonna be wonky looking like it is now. I'm hoping that they can even drop speeds a little bit more up because it'll be even more safe.
It'll be lighter too.
Yeah, absolutely. And God, they're doing exactly what all of us NASCAR fans want, and they are pushing those
Big
engines to the limit.
horsepower, lighter cars.
Yes, absolutely. Jared, are you excited for the Indianapolis 500? Are you going to watch it this year?
I'm gonna try to. I will be missing some of it because I am going to an All-Star Circuit Champions race at Port Royal on Sunday. It's a 29,000 to win race. I could possibly, if the weather.
That's big money for dirt.
Knocking on wood right now. The weather's supposed to be decent, so I'm hoping to see another 50+ car field again. First, because it's a Sunday, there's not a lot of races that happen on Sundays around Pennsylvania. And that's a big one for them. So Port Royal's right down the road from me, about an hour and a half away. So I think it'd be foolish if I missed out on that.
Absolutely.
Since I just caught into sprint cars again, so yes, I will try. I'm going to try to watch that at least. I'm going to try to keep up with everything on Sunday. I'll probably be live streaming the NASCAR race if I have service there, because I'll probably be missing some of that. But ideally, with how long the 600 is, I should be able to make it home for the end of that. But I'm going to keep trying my best to keep up with everything on Sunday.
Yeah, and good thing about me this year is that my endurance races should be on Monday instead of Sunday this year, which is really cool. I know last year they moved them to Monday, and I had a migraine during the 600, but I foolishly chose to watch the entire thing and just stare at a TV and make it worse. So then I went to bed for like 4 hours. I had to get up and drive to the track, and then I did my endurance races, and it's like, I don't care. I mean, it's Motorsports Christmas. I mean, I gotta enjoy every second of it.
Yeah. Well, I do not want you guys to tell me. I'm going to mute the group chat. Do not tell me anything what happens at 600, because I'm going to leave as soon as the Indy 500 is over for the local track down at CNS. So I'm going to record it and watch it Monday morning when I'm hungover as shit.
So, in other words, don't text Colton.
You can hit up the group chat. I'm going to mute it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, I am going to be doing my normal triple header day stuff. I will probably be recovering from my birthday on Saturday. So we'll see what happens there. But I am going to go ahead and ask you guys the biggest question about these Indy 500 and Coke 600. Who's going to win?
Oh, dear. Oh, man. This is tough. I mean, I think the Indy 500 was super clean last year. I think it'll come down to execution. The whole month of May was clean this year. I think there was one crash. So I'm kind of thinking that this is a Scott Dixon type of race. You know, it's super clean. It's going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to fuel numbers. It's going to come down to all that stuff. And I think last year he kind of got screwed over by having some sort of fuel issue. Didn't get to show what he had. So I think I normally don't like to go with the favorite at Indy because it's never, ever straightforward. But if the race ends up playing out as cleanly as it did last year, then it's Scott Dixon's to lose.
There are two guys that I would put money on to win this race, and that is Alex Palou. I think he ran a great race last year and just kind of got schooled right in those last couple laps by Elio Castroneves.
Yeah, and that was his second 500, right?
Yeah, I mean, and he did amazing for it, and he's got speed again this year.
I would love it. Like, I'm a Palou fan. Like, he's kind of becoming my driver now. So
he's my number one. If I had to pick one,
he's Spanish.
Yeah,
like, I'm manifesting an Alex Palou win. I don't want to pick him because I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah. The second guy, if it's not going to be Palou, if I had to pick two drivers, and he's there at the end, Elio Castroneves gets his fifth.
Ooh, that's a big
one. Yeah,
he's still really good in the cockpit of a car. Cockpit.
Oh, I got a sleeper pick. I forgot to name him. I'll name him at the end. Sage Karim.
Okay.
Like, this dude, I remember he was really fast in his first couple Indy 500s, and he wrecked a lot of cars. Like, he would drive to the top 10, he would crash. And the last couple of years, it seems like whenever he doesn't crash, he's always in the top 10 at the end, and he's a part-timer with the independent team. And I think that if everything goes right again, he could probably get another top 10. He could maybe even contend. So
I'm thinking you're dead on the money with that. I'm thinking J.R. Hildebrand, if he doesn't hit the wall in turn 4, and I want to say that was 2008. I'm thinking that could be a very dangerous pick. All right, what about you, Jared?
I was going to go with Alex Palou, but Colton stole my pick.
Me
prediction.
too. We were all thinking the exact same thing. So, Obviously 4 for fan fuel votes for Alex Palou, but if you had to pick somebody else that hasn't been stated yet, who you got?
I mean, I picked Scott Dixon just because I'm afraid of picking my driver. So, like, I have that superstition.
Who else we got? Who else could be a good pick?
I don't know. Like, I know Sage Karim's a good long shot. Graham Rahal seems to always be relevant in this race for whatever reason. Like, he's kind of just always in the mix. Who else? I mean, anybody in a Ganassi car is going to have a chance. So,
What about Jimmy Johnson? Is Jimmy Johnson going to do good at all?
I think he's got a chance as long as he
my
doesn't.
next question. Don't bring up Jimmy Johnson yet.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
I don't know. I like Pato Award. I'm not sure if this is the one that's going to get him the one.
That's a good one.
This is going to be the one that he can get it done in, though. I think for me, I think despite the fact that Team Penske's not shown as much prowess in the month of May this year, I think I'm going to have to go with just Joseph Newgarden. I think this guy is the MTJ of the series. He's always the guy that has the boring wins, and I think this is going to be a bit more of a straightforward Indy 500. So I think this is looking to be a Joseph Newgarden win.
I mean, didn't he just pass somebody on the last lap to win his last race, though?
Yeah, but I mean, most of his wins in the past 3 years have been not really exciting. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Say for 1 or 2.
That's got. I don't know, man. I think Scott Dixon, like that's the guy I think of in those scenarios. Like, if there's a dude that can just do the basics like better than everybody else, it's that dude. Like,
I don't disagree with you, but I also have the same sort of Jimmy Johnson prime, just adverse feelings towards Scott Dixon because he's so good.
I mean, I won't lie. I have the same.
But leading into the next question, before we get to the Coke 600, where is Jimmy Johnson going to finish?
Oh, why is this going to be such a tough question, man? I mean, it's such a toss-up. He's in a Ganassi car. He'll have a chance. I think that if he can make it through the first part of the race without making any mistakes or without his pit crew giving him any penalties, he will have a chance to win. He just has to make the first half of the race. Because you saw it in Texas, he kind of ran in the back for half of the race. And then once the second half came on, he ends up in the top 5. So it's like, it's a thing where it's going to take him a little bit to learn. But once he does learn, he seems to just immediately get it. So I think survive the first 100 laps, do everything right. I think it's going to come down to fuel saving. And as long as his car is in one piece, he will be in the top 10. Like, I think, mark my words, he will be in the top 10 toward the end of the race, as long as he makes it there. Like, he's just got to make it.
I think he has an issue. Either he crashes out or some kind of mechanical issue. I think he finishes 29th.
Damn.
Oh, you're going to be a number, aren't you?
I'm giving you a number. Yeah.
4th.
Oh,
Damn,
why'd you have to,
Jared.
come on.
Oh
I had
my
that
God.
too.
I
had the same number.
Because I was like, Kurt Busch finished 7th in his first. And I was
6th.
like, I thought he finished 7th.
No, I think it was 6th, yeah.
Oh.
Almost
Doesn't
got a
matter.
top 5. Yeah.
I think that Jimmy Johnson's a way better race car driver than Kurt Busch. He's already got some time in an Indy car on an oval now. I think
no.
fourth place finish is where I was going to go. So
We were all going for 4th, weren't we?
Yeah.
Did I dig it?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Colton.
think it's pretty logical. I mean, I think it's like the sky's the limit with this guy. He's either going to wreck or he's going to win the race. I don't think there's much of an in-between. And
Right.
I think that if he makes it through the first 100 laps, then by lap 190, he's going to be in the top 10. That's all I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. If he's still there towards the end, he's going to be at least somewhat of a factor. However, I don't see him going towards the end.
It just depends. I mean, if it's got less than 5 turns, then he's always a factor. So that's just the way it goes with this guy.
All right, so Coca-Cola 600. Nathan, I know before we get to our picks, you have something to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm not a fan of the 4 100 lap stages. I think everybody in here would agree. I think everybody that ever hates stage racing as much as we do would probably agree. You know, if it's the longest race distance-wise, then why don't we get a chance to have the longest green flag run outside of the short tracks, obviously? But why don't we get a chance to have a 100-plus lap green flag run? Like, why? You know, I think it should be 100, 100, 200 because that way, if the last stage runs green, then where else are you going to get, 150, 170 laps without a caution on a mile and a half? You're just not doing it anywhere these days. So I think it needs to happen. It needs to regain that endurance feel. And in all honesty, ever since they went to those 4 stages, the Southern 500 feels like a longer race, even though it's not.
Yeah.
So, like, I will say this every single year until they fix it. The Coke 600 doesn't need equal stages.
Yeah. So
Yes.
let's take this as a woke or joke because Nathan makes a good point. I'm going to go ahead and agree with him and say woke. Even if we do have 3 stages instead of just 2, or I guess 4 instead of just 3. I think it should at least be 80, 80, 80, and then the rest of that would be 160. So they got to do something. It's the most boring race of the year because pit at 50, pit at 100, pit at 150, pit at 200, pit at 250, pit at 300, pit at 350, end of the race, pit at 400 if we go in overtime.
Yeah.
Man, you
It's
just summed
boring
up the
as
race
shit.
on Sunday.
Yeah, wow. I
Yeah,
just
wow,
wanna
we got
make
4
sure-
even like Saints.
Yeah.
It's like four 100 lap heat races.
Yeah, it's like last year with the 600. Like you by the end of stage 2, even you knew that like there were a couple. Like you knew that Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, William Byron, Chase Elliott, they're probably going to be your factors. Stage 3, the same people up front. Stage 4, the same people up front. It's like if it's literally 4 of the same thing, then by stage 1 or stage 2, you already know how stage 4 is going to go.
Right. Yeah. If there's one race to have a long endurance run to test the equipment, to test the abilities of the drivers to save their equipment, it's this one. It is the longest race of the year. Why the fuck are we trying to cut it down?
I think Bob Pockris said it best. He's like, oh, NASCAR doesn't want fuel strategy. Or, oh, NASCAR doesn't want long runs. Oh, NASCAR doesn't want them strung out. And it's like,
Well, NASCAR,
that
it's not
just
about
sucks,
you
man.
motherfuckers. It's about NASCAR fans. And NASCAR fans
Yes.
love tire strategy. They love fuel strategy. And you know what they get with all that? Fucking passing. You know what we didn't get last year? Fucking passing. I
Oh,
almost
man, that
fell
was a
asleep
brutal
at
race.
a fucking NASCAR race. Worst birthday present of my life, NASCAR. I do not accept it from last year. Fuck off.
I mean, I spent 100 laps, last 100 laps, you'd watch Kyle Busch side draft Chase Elliott. Nothing happens. That's like the only on-track activity.
Myra, I know that you got me that trip for my birthday last year. That was not addressed to you. That was addressed to NASCAR. So I did love going up there. It was really fun. The race just sucked ass. Not your fault. Not your fault.
Respect.
Oh, man.
All right. On that note, so
Big
before I
time,
get
I
my
guess,
ass
isn't it?
beat,
Yeah.
I'll let Jared
He's
go
gonna
first.
Bust in the door with the chancla.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly what's going to happen. So, Jared, who do you have?
I'm gonna be biased. We're gonna go with Kyle Busch. He's had some speed the last couple weeks. If the tires didn't suck and Texas didn't suck and Texas didn't suck and the All-Star race didn't suck and the tires didn't suck, Kyle Busch would have won, probably led every single lap of that All-Star race. Like, someone please tell me that I'm wrong. That he would have won that race. But I'm okay. Fair enough. But I think Kyle Busch has been normally pretty good at Charlotte. I think he's going to get that red, white, and blue M&M's Toyota in Victory Lane one more time in that scheme, and he's going to bring his daughter to Victory Lane for the first time.
Yeah, I think on that note, I was debating between Kyle Busch and one other guy, but since Jared got Kyle, I think I'm going to go with Truex. The JGR cars are just stupid fast on intermediate tracks this year. I mean, you saw it at Kansas, you saw it at the All-Star race. I think Truex finished 5th when he had 2 flat tires and a penalty. So I think if he has a clean day, he's going to be up there. And for a sleeper, I think I want to go Bubba Wallace as a sleeper pick because I don't want to give him a favorite slot because his pit crew is just such a liability. You know, I think there's as good of a chance his pit crew is going to lose him 20 spots as he would win, but he had legitimate speed at Kansas too. He probably should have been in the top 5, and the pit crew messed him up. So I think if there's anybody outside the favorites that I would want to see, I think Bubba's got a shot. But
Jared, who's your sleeper?
I completely messed my sleeper, but I'm gonna go with Christopher Bell as my sleeper. He's been like sneaky good the last couple weeks too, and especially with that Toyota speed on intermediates this year, I could definitely see him being one of the guys that could sneak into a win.
Alex, you fucking took my guys. So go ahead. You took both of them.
All right, so if you watched the In Between Media Back Road podcast last night with Jared and I, you'll know who I'm going to pick as my sleeper. But both these guys have had terrible luck this year. It's time for them to shine, time for them both to get their first Cup wins, respectively. And I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick, one of the fastest Chevys out there, if he can just finish a race, if he cannot get caught up in someone else's accident, if the tires don't suck. As Jared said earlier. And then the guy behind me, Daniel Suarez, was probably the second or third fastest car at the 600 last year. But he was caught 2 laps down because of pit road penalty, and he could never get back onto the lead lap. He was the only guy that I saw be able to pass cars, whether they were on the lead lap or laps down like he was. So I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with this is a Daniel Suarez kind of race. So that is my sleeper pick. And then the number 8 of Tyler Reddick is my main guy that I think could win.
I am going to go on the fly here. Ross Chastain is probably my number 1 guy. He's just been super solid all season. He would have been in contention for that All-Star race had he not used Kyle Busch as a launching pad. He's been fast. He's been consistent. He's been making the aggressive moves when it counts. And my second guy, sleeper pick, he is plus 6,600 on the Barstool Sportsbook. Chase Holden brought him up earlier this week on Twitter. Eric Jones, 43.
Oh yeah,
that was my sleeper pick on last night. So hell yeah.
Yeah. He's not a bad racer. That team is getting better. He was very competitive at Auto Club. I think he could easily just pick a different strategy than the rest of these guys as far as the last couple pit stops go and sneak one out.
Absolutely. And something I brought up last night was he wins big races. He wins big races.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Races.
Yeah. And so he might be this generation's Jamie McMurray.
Which kind of sucks because I think he could definitely do better than that if he has a better car. So
yeah.
There were rumors, I think, from Bob Pockris about him going to the 10 car next year, which would be kind of cool. So
Priest got that right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't go so fast. I mean, he doesn't have any sponsor money.
Kyle Busch.
As much as I hate to say. Oh my God! Can you imagine Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick on the same team?
Ooh, I got a conspiracy.
Could you imagine Kyle Busch anywhere other than the 18 right now? I mean,
retirement.
Like the guys at Toyota said, if they lose Kyle Busch, it'd be the biggest failure in their NASCAR history. Like they couldn't.
Sorry, they got Ty Gibbs. They'll be fine.
That'd be crazy though. Like KBM goes to Ford.
I mean, I did tweet it the other day. Right after that All-Star wreck, Kyle Busch is going to fucking retire.
Yeah,
I think Truex is retiring first. If I had to
did everyone like that interview they had with him? They asked him like, "I know you didn't see that coming, but did you see that coming?"
Yeah,
something like that. Like, they asked him.
I mean, I'd be unenthused too if they kept asking me questions like that.
Yeah,
because I think Junior said on the show yesterday that Truex said that he would decide his future based on whether or not he was having fun, and he said something like, "I don't know if Martin's having fun right now."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's – I'm sure he probably doesn't like the way people are racing because it's getting dirtier and dirtier. And he's like a Mark Martin 2.0, so
yeah,
probably doesn't like that. I don't know how he feels in the car. I don't think anybody does, so.
Kyle and Martin
he might be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. If Martin Truex isn't having fun, I am damn positive Kyle Busch is not having fun.
Yeah.
No, I think
Kyle. I don't know.
Kyle
Busch has
he
fun.
Probably hasn't had fun. He hasn't had fun probably the last like 5 or 6 years. He probably he's kind of like he doesn't have fun unless he wins. Like I don't think he's one of those guys that like Truex. Truex probably has fun finishing second if the cars are hard to drive.
Yeah.
But I think
Kyle
Kyle
Busch
Busch
doesn't like racing cars. He likes winning in race cars.
Yeah, like
I don't think he has fun unless he's in victory
like
lane.
this dude was smiling when he won races with the 550 package. So like he likes
Yeah.
winning. So I think
Yeah, I think
I don't
that's-
know. I mean, it depends. I mean, there was that one Xfinity race that he won with that high drag package where he gets out. He doesn't even celebrate or anything. He's just like
Yeah.
just blank faced.
Well, been a nice show tonight. I want to thank you all for coming out. I know we took a week off there, but it just had to happen for some reasons. So I appreciate you all being on tonight. As always, you can see us next week at the same time, 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Follow us at FanFuel MSM, capital F, capital MSM on all of our socials, all lowercase on Twitch and Instagram. And then Jared's got something before I close this out.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know my hours will be shifting, so I probably will not be on Fan Fuel for a while. I know we have some plans scheduled for the weekend that I'd like to possibly try out. So stay tuned for all that stuff. But for now, I probably won't be on the show for a while. Obviously, I will be active on my Twitter that you'd find there. I also started, if you're into dirt racing, I started me and Colton's Slick Track podcast, which can be found on Twitter at Slick Track Pod. I'm trying to upload some stuff on there, and it's basically just going to be for if you're into that kind of stuff. It's just something I'm going to throw to get around. And obviously, you can check out some articles on the FanFuel Motorsports website. So definitely check that out. But I will be missing everyone on the podcast. So hopefully things get shifted around soon, or we can figure out something. But for now, I probably won't be on the podcast for a while.
Yeah. So we'll I mean.
Yeah, we could.
We're gonna hate that, but also we gotta push on. They keep having racing, so we got to field talk about it. So definitely be looking forward to some dirt track stuff from Colton and Jared. There is some light at the end of the tunnel for that. We did sneak peek a little bit of it earlier this year with that interview they did with Logan Stewart. So just be ready. There's some stuff coming down the line from them. So get onto that. And then our iRacing stuff is going to kick off with me tomorrow. So if you are interested in watching, from my point of view, the Nostalgia Sim Racing Wide Open Thursday race sponsored by FanFuel Motorsports, go ahead and jump on our YouTube channel tomorrow night around 7:30, 7:45-ish, and we will get on track and do some practicing and do a bunch of racing at Talladega in the Gen 6 car. That should be fun. We're going to do that on Thursdays from here on out. And we're looking for broadcasters. So if you are an iRacing broadcaster, please get in touch with us at FanFuel MSM on our socials so that we can talk to you about broadcasting those Thursday night events and the rest of the NSR stuff that you'll see on the website here shortly. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week, same time. And all right, bye.